Welcome to This Week from Blue Mountain Broadcasting. I'm your host, Lynelle Ellis, president of Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association, and I'm delighted that you've tuned into the show today. I'm going to be interviewing two ladies from Walla Walla University, Claudia Santellano, who is the Director for Alumni and Parent Relations, and also Jodi Wagner, Vice President for University Relations and Advancement at Walla Walla University. So they're going to be sharing with us some of the wonderful things about the recent alumni homecoming weekend. It's been great to get together again as we're coming out of the pandemic and after not being together for a number of years for an alumni event. And then I have some station news to share with you too, so you will definitely want to stay tuned till the end of the program to hear about that. Let's begin with our devotional thought. Lucy Maud Montgomery, Canada's favorite author, wrote in Anne of Green Gables, "Tomorrow is always fresh with no mistakes in it." That's a lovely idea, isn't it? Doesn't it feel good to start over fresh? Maybe that's why I like mornings so much. Each day is new and fresh with no mistakes in it yet. You know, this idea didn't originate with Lucy Maud Montgomery or Anne of Green Gables. It is a biblical concept. Do you remember this verse? "Through the Lord's mercies we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." That's Lamentations 3:22 and 23. God's mercies are new every morning. This was Jeremiah's experience as he wrote Lamentations. He understood God's great forgiveness and his willingness to start fresh with us. Do you like mornings like I do? I just seem to have more optimism in the morning. Imagining what the day will hold is kind of fun. Not all days, but most days seem to start with the promise of something good in store. I like to go for a walk outside first thing in the morning before all my responsibilities of the day begin to overwhelm me. Enjoying the brand new day is a real treat, and I've found that it's really a good time to pray too. It's good to have a conversation with God as I walk along and ask him to set my life in order for the day. You never know what a day will bring. Sometimes good things, sometimes hard things. But experiencing whatever it is with God is better than going through and facing the day alone. Yes, it is good to experience a new day, a fresh one with no mistakes in it, a chance to start new with God once again. God's mercies and compassion are new every morning. What a wonderful promise. That reminds me of a song too. Way back when I was in college, my favorite song was "My Redeemer is Faithful and True." It played on Positive Life Radio quite often, usually sung there by Bobby Michaels, but sometimes by the man who wrote the song, Stephen Curtis Chapman. Some of the lyrics of that song go like this: "My Redeemer is faithful and true. Everything he has said, he will do. And every morning his mercies are new. My Redeemer is faithful and true." There's definitely a reference to that passage from Lamentations in this song. Every morning his mercies are new. It is through God's mercies that we are not consumed for all the ways that we have been unfaithful to him. Yet he is always faithful. May I encourage you to take advantage of the morning. Enjoy the promise of God's grace every morning. Take time to connect with him. Make promises to him for the day and claim his promises to be faithful to you throughout the day. King David wrote a prayer in the form of a song, and it's a great prayer to start the day. It is found in Psalm 5. In my Bible, there's a note that this psalm was written by David himself and that it was to be accompanied by flutes. So perhaps you'd like to imagine that as I read this prayer from Psalm 5. Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my meditation. Give heed to the voice of my cry, my King and my God. For to you I will pray. My voice you shall hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning I will direct it to you, and I will look up. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining me now are two ladies from Walla Walla University, Jodi Wagner, who is Vice President for University Relations and Advancement, and Claudia Santellano, who is the Director for Alumni and Parent Relations. It is so good to have the two of you here to talk about a wonderful event that happened here at Walla Walla University very recently, just last weekend. This was the first in-person alumni weekend since 2019. What was that like for people?
It was, yeah. Thank you, Lynelle, for the invitation to be here. Jodi and I are grateful for that. It was really good to have alumni back on campus. We have been missing them on campus. The in-person experience is irreplaceable, and we are so grateful that many of them showed up to campus. For some of them, very far away. North Dakota even,
really
very far away. In others, a couple of blocks down the road. And so we had alumni from all different places, and we're glad. We had people register. Many alumni register, many alumni don't because they attend church services, or for whatever reason they don't. Registrations, we had 755 this year, which is very comparable to previous years. Not the high numbers from previous years, but many turn out to this weekend's alumni weekend, and we were grateful for that.
Yeah, it is wonderful because I would guess that still there are some who would hesitate to come still at this point as we're coming, out of the pandemic. So to have that good turnout is incredible. And I have to confess right now that I'm one of those alumni that never got over to the registration desk, even though I was at lots of events and enjoying it very much. So I'm sure there are some of those as well. So you would really consider this a good turnout then, all things considered, especially.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think it was heartening. I think most people that were here were happy to be here, were excited to be here, had their own sort of war stories from COVID, and were telling us about some of their quarantine or people they couldn't see. And it was really interesting for us to hear people say, we were coming one way or another. We're happy you're having an in-person homecoming. We were coming one way or another. And I think that is the Walla Walla spirit. I think the spirit of this is our place, this is our home, and we're coming back. And so it was really heartening.
Yeah.
Very wonderful. So you're right, people have been through something. We can't avoid that really in this conversation because as much as we would have liked to have been together, we weren't for a couple of years. We did have alumni events, certainly, but they were virtual. And so it's just a special experience for people to come and actually hug their friends, from the past and see them in that way again. What do you think were some of the favorite activities that were happening during Alumni Weekend?
I think there were several. The seminars that happened Friday afternoon, for many of them were standing room only. We had to bring in, additional chairs. Those were very well attended. Church services were very well attended, as well as class reunions and photos. Those are always a lot of fun. What else do you think, Jodi?
I think the car show on Sunday was just gorgeous, and the vehicles were beautiful. People were happy to be outside. The weather was stellar. Dogwoods and blooms and green grass and just veggie burgers from the auto club and all the good things that people miss about your hometown gatherings. I think the car show was popular. I heard good things about even the departmental reunions. The engineering majors that had a chance to gather and visit. Math majors did the same. Nursing. So it was just nice to be able to be with friends and colleagues. And even though some people didn't have have class members there, and arrived and were surprised at how few class members were there. They were able to connect with other people who through the generations had the Walla Walla experience.
Yes.
And that was priceless and beautiful to see these generations sort of bind to each other, and to have everybody sort of knowing internally what Walla Walla was to them, whether it was Walla Walla College or Walla Walla University. And so you can see these themes over a homecoming weekend, and it was nice to have that return where these generations all share something that is unique and special together. So that was really fun to watch.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I was at a departmental supper myself, it was the humanities, and as a communication person I was there. And I'm only barely a little bit extrovert, so when I go to those, I always wonder, who will I talk to? Who will I see that I know, and who will I connect with? And it feels a little bit nervous, but once I get there, it's just as you're saying, there might not be anyone that I graduated with or even that I taught. But yet there are people that I know in one way or another, and we connect on common ground, and it was a lot of fun. I found myself staying much longer than I planned to, just because there were interesting people to talk with.
Well, and I was part of the banquet program, and what was interesting is when you mentioned certain names, like Glenn Masden, for example, you could see heads nodding in the audience, because regardless of what year they were, there were so many people that had experiences with that particular professor over the years.
Yes.
For example, one of the things that we mentioned in our program was that in particular with mathematics, 8 professors made up 245 years represented by only 8 professors. So when you look at the length of service here at the university and the number of people who went through that program and went through those classes, we all have something in common. And that's fun to discover.
Exactly.
Yeah, it really is, because we've had those similar experiences. So you probably listened in on a few conversations, overheard a few conversations over the weekend. Did any sort of themes emerge, or things that you thought were interesting people were talking about or experiencing?
Really happy for them to be here. Like, they were really glad to be here and reconnect and share stories. And we celebrated 75 years of the Edward F. Cross School of Engineering.
Yes.
100 years of math and math majors and minors, and 125 years of the School of Nursing. And so just the stories, even during banquet, when they talked about when the School of Nursing, when that started, and the differences then and some of the differences now, just then they would tell their own stories of when they went through the program. So just lots of stories, and just people are really happy to be here.
You've alluded a couple times in this conversation to anniversaries, basically, of this program for such a length, and that's something that you as alumni director have really been working with and building on for these events. And I know some people who were in that role before you. What kind of led to that idea of, let's find a particular program or a building and celebrate that during Alumni Weekend?
I think that started just before Claudia joined us in her role with Terry Dickinson Neal, who was the alumni director before. We were brainstorming a little bit, saying, how can we add some energy to homecoming weekend? And in particular, how can we bind together these multi-generations that all share the Walla Walla University experience? So before, when we were doing just class reunions, that was a very specific group of years. But then we started to think about affinity groups. And so we've had an eCantori reunion. We've had reunions around Village Hall. We've had reunions around communications and Positive Life Radio and KGTS. We've had reunions around biology. We've had all kinds of reunions connected not just to a year and a point in time, but to an experience here at the university tied with affinities.
I think it's genius, because that then I graduated in 1990, no secrets here. It's a long time ago. But how many wonderful people do I know from 88 and 89 and 91 and 92? And when you're around those experiences, then people come that aren't necessarily just from that year you graduated.
Exactly.
Sure.
It's
Well,
so much
and,
more fun.
You know, you and I are both communications majors. I
Yes.
graduated in '92, so
Yes.
we had some classes together, but what we shared in common was Dr. Lauren Dickinson
Yes.
and Dr. Jim Hannum and Donnie Rigby. You
Absolutely.
know, and there was a group of folks that not only you and I were able to enjoy, but hundreds of other students for
Yes.
many years.
Yes.
And being able to get together around a common theme rather than a specific year allows the stories that honor these people, that truly honor these people, to sort of bubble to the surface. You know, I've heard stories like in the math department about Dr. Tom Thompson and how he had a class once that only had 2 students in it. And he was known for starting class on time. And back then it wasn't computerized and everything, so he would write everything on the 3 boards that he had in his classroom. And when he finished, he would start erasing and keep going with math. Well, you know, one of these 2 students was missing from class, and the other one showed up late, only to find Dr. Thompson lecturing. He had already filled up 3 of his boards and he was starting to erase. He was giving a lecture to an empty room. Yeah. And you know, you hear stories like that from different groups and different ages, and it's just delightful because you can hear a common theme about our family,
Yes.
about the Walla Walla family.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it is important to connect with your alma mater, isn't it?
We believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
I read once that there is something important about seeing family pictures and hearing family stories. That they believe that children who are able to see themselves in pictures with other family members and children who are able to hear family stories tend to be more adjusted and feel more stable, and that somehow having these experiences shared and reflected on allows them to see where they've been and that they belong. And I like to think the same way about our homecoming weekend, right? I think there's something important about hearing our story of our home, the university, and hearing our collective story of what we went through here and who we were here with, and reflecting on that, because by looking at that and hearing those stories and seeing that past, we know that we belong. We know where we've been, and we have sort of a centeredness, sort of a, you know, we have roots. And so I like to think of homecoming that way. We talked about it that way when we do our planning.
Exactly.
You know, and I think it projects onto the future too. As you're saying those things, I'm thinking about my own children and how they've heard my stories, they've heard their dad's stories, and now they had the opportunity to go to a lot of events this weekend and a lot of other events at the university over the last few years. And they're starting to think of this as their place, as they're about ready to come to college themselves.
Exactly.
They're talking about it as their place. They can't wait to get here.
Yeah.
So there's another effect, you know, that it has, that we can pass that on to the next generation.
Exactly.
It really does honor the future, I think, to get together and remember the past. It does honor and plan for the future.
Yeah. My oldest is a sophomore here, and my youngest is already thinking about how she'll decorate her room in Connor.
Yes. It's great, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It's really good to see.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to share about a wonderful weekend that we experienced here in our community. May there be more.
Yes.
Thank
May
you.
there be
Appreciate
more.
that.
Thank you.
Many more.
And thank you for watching. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. It's time now for station news. First, I want to let you know that a whole bunch of people from Blue Mountain Television have traveled to the National Association of Broadcasters, which takes place each year in Las Vegas, the only place with big enough convention halls for this huge convention. So we have our volunteers and engineers, Jim and Keith and Jerry, all at this convention, and also our station employees, Lowell and Zach, are also there as well. So they are exploring the thousands of feet of space of interesting and important equipment that will be helpful for the work that we do at Blue Mountain Television. And they're on a very specific mission. They are researching out the very best equipment for the price that we can get for our new facility. So they are on a research mission, and I'm sure they are very busy gleaning and gathering all of that information. By the time this show airs, they should just be back in town, and I can't wait to hear a report of what they found out and what they've discovered about the most cost-effective ways for us to use technology in the best ways that we can to effectively do the ministry work that we are doing here at Blue Mountain Television. And you also need to be reminded that it is time to go to secretlifetv.com. That website is up and functioning, secretlifetv.com, and it is the new Secret Life series website. So you will want to go there, you will want to check out Secret Life of the Forest and get ready for Secret Life of the Desert, which is coming really soon. In fact, the premiere of that show, as you may already know, is happening on May 22 at the Gesa Powerhouse Theater. So this premiere is going to be in 4K. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful footage of the deserts and the plants and animals, various creatures that are living in our Northwest deserts. These areas have not been explored enough, and it's going to be really, really exciting to see this footage. Show times for that premiere are 3 and 7 p.m. So you want to pick one of those times to attend the premiere, and then get your ticket at the Gesa Powerhouse Theater website. Those tickets are $10 each, and when you go there, you can pick the exact seat that you want to sit in out of whatever is left available. So you can either go to the Gesa Powerhouse Theater website or to bmt.tv/tickets at our website, and that will also direct you to where you can get those tickets. Now, just before that premiere, we are going to be having on May 16 and 17 our spring fundraiser. So get ready, mark your calendar for that too, because we are going to be sharing with you some things behind the scenes from Secret Life of the Desert. You'll definitely want to find out about some of the things that went on behind the scenes on the show. At least for me, that's always the most fun part. I love to see about how the production happened and hear the funny little stories of things that took place, or sometimes scary or difficult stories that God has helped people work through. So behind the scenes stories happening during our spring fundraiser. That's May 16 and 17. That's going to be from 6 to 10 in the evening. So mark that down. And also you'll be enjoying beautiful music with wonderful videos that have been created, music videos by Simon Kowalski, who is going to be our special guest for music during our spring fundraiser. Just some good things to be looking forward to here at Blue Mountain Television. And I promise to get you a report on what our station personnel found out at NAB very soon on this show. So be looking for that too coming up to find out what good things they discovered when they were at that event. And you know, I would just be totally missing something if I didn't thank you right now for your support of Blue Mountain Television. And if I didn't invite you to contribute to this ministry financially. We absolutely need you. There just can't be a Blue Mountain Television without your gifts and without your commitment to the station and your prayers for this ministry. So thank you in advance, or if you've already given, thank you, and thank you in advance for what you are going to do, both for the operating budget and for the new facility. It's all very important, and we appreciate you so much. I also want to thank you because you just took some precious moments out of your day to watch this program, to find out what's going on at the station, to find out what happened at Alumni Weekend, and to hear these updates and share some devotional time with me. I'm not taking that for granted. Thank you for spending these few minutes with me, and I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you next time.